We'll slide it in there.
Hey guys, welcome to Nerds, Nerds, and More Nerds.
Welcome,
We are your hosts,
Cole.
Travis.
and Miguel. Today, we plan on going over what it means to be a nerd, physical versus digital media, and more nerd things. Alright, roll the intro music.
Nerds. Let's get started.
Okay, let's get started.
Another good intro.
Yeah,
We try.
Well,
We try.
we try our
we
best.
do a pretty good job, yeah.
So yeah, today we're gonna talk about. First, we're gonna talk about what it means to be a nerd.
What it means to be a nerd. I sort of had this idea really early, like almost before we had even, I think, one or two episodes. Like, it just occurred to me that, there's you can't pigeonhole a nerd in one spot.
Right.
And I think over time, like, that was the case. I asked the guy at work, actually, I said, hey, blank, what is, what's a nerd to you? Like, when you were in high school, who were the nerds? And he said, oh man, the nerds played Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, really? Like, but that was it? He was like, yeah, I mean, God, they were nerds. Like, he started going on a bit. But I was like, okay, wow. Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, like, okay, that makes sense. I suppose that's pretty nerdy. I've never played. Miguel, you've had some experience in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yes, I've played many a Dungeons and Dragons.
You nerd.
Yeah.
What a nerd.
Yeah. But see,
Guilty as charged.
and I think that's only one facet.
Guilty.
I was on my way here when we were recording last week, talking about the Infinity Gauntlet, talking about the film. Either way, I'm getting across now. But I was leaving my folks' place, and I said, I'm ready to, I'm on my way to do a podcast. A couple buddies, we're going to talk about stuff about nerds, nerd things. And my dad stopped me and he said, what kinds of nerd things? And I was like, oh, well, like comic books, video games, that kind of thing. He was like, well, that's not what nerds do. He said, nerds are into computers and they're into engineering and he said a couple other things I can't remember, but I was like, wow, okay. So like the 70, almost 72 or 3-year-old man thinks that nerds are, computer geeks. Like that's a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One form of it. For
Yeah,
sure.
but I mean, like I said, it's a multifaceted thing. And actually, I've got a definition here.
Okay.
A nerd is a noun, informal, a foolish or contemptible person who lacks social skills or is boringly studious. Okay, now that's really only one definition, right?
Right.
It gives sort of like an example of one of those nerds who never asked a girl to dance. Okay, that's a thing. But there's a secondary definition here. Is a single-minded expert in a particular technical field. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it says a computer nerd.
Yes.
Now that's just a Google definition. I must admit, I Googled it. But, those are two just still tiny parts, like...
Yeah. This is just.
I didn't do any kind of professional poll on this, it was just kind of a curious thing that I thought of. But, maybe this would be a good opportunity to hear from, people that listen to the podcast, what's a nerd to the people out there,
Right.
Or
Yeah.
how do you consider yourself to be a nerd if you are?
Yeah.
Right. What is your definition of a nerd?
Yeah.
Right.
I personally think that you could nerd about anything.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily
Limited to...
Yeah.
like just a noun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also think that there are certain people who are quick to say that someone else is a nerd. You know, like that.
Right.
There's always someone that's quick to say, and it's basically like they're saying, "Hey, this." Basically, what they're saying is, "Hey, this person is interested in something that I am not interested in."
And they're a technical proficient.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and so, you know, by these conclusions, they are a nerd. And then, like, it's not until the person accepts, like, oh, maybe I'm a nerd in a certain way, you know? I do whatever, like, even, like, something like scrapbooking, you know? Like,
Yeah.
something like that. You know, I think any sort of hobby would make someone technically a nerd because they're
Yeah.
proficient in that particular thing.
That's why
Right.
I find it so interesting that it can be put into a sort of a contemptuous context that, you know, you nerd, you geek, you know, it's like a slight, but, you know, in a way we all should be complimented. You know, if
Right.
you're ever being called a nerd, it's like, you professional at one thing, you super smart,
Right.
super diligent, you know, knowledgeable, skillful person in that one area.
Yeah. I'm sure
Dare you?
put tons of hours into that.
Yeah, I bet you know everything about it, nerd. You know, like, it's like I feel like, and you know, I don't know, man. That's just like breaking down kind of a social barrier in a way.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and maybe it happened long ago, but that was something that everyone, you know, those were classes, right? Social classes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got jocks, preps, goths,
Right.
all these different cliquish things, and this was all like high school culture, and nerd is definitely one of those things. And I guess, you know, yeah, they are awkward around women. They don't know how to approach girls, and there's this whole thing about this. But they're also like the people you end up working for, aren't they?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, like,
Of course. And I mean, yeah, if you even look at the times have changed though also.
right.
And the people who were, you know, say like reading these Marvel comics grew up to be the Robert Downey Jr.'s of today.
Yeah.
The Russo brothers, you know, doing
Or even the
Yeah.
people behind the equipment. They're the people filming them, producing them, you know, engineering them. They you know, were so into them that they said, you know, I need to be part of this thing becoming like a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually, I can't remember if I talked to you guys about it, but we actually went to school with someone who worked on Amazing Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah, Rose. Do you remember Rose?
No kidding.
Rose. Yeah, she was in charge of making sure that Dr. Connor's arm was always edited out. You know how he always had one arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? No
Yeah,
way.
that's what he was. What she was in charge of.
Whoa.
Yeah, and she said that the actor was horrible at it because he kept like
He always like
moving.
scratch his nose or something.
Yeah, he would always like move his arm up to his face. Oh man, we're really putting this guy out there. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You turd.
Yeah. So he kept doing that. They had to put like a board on his arm and just like
Strap it to him?
Yeah, strap it to him so he would keep his arm still.
No kidding.
Yeah, and had like a green sleeve, kind of like a green screen sleeve, basically, like
Yeah.
over his hand, like a really long glove.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what they had to do.
Oh.
And yeah,
And she supervised that.
and she did that. She also worked on Oz, Great and Powerful.
Oh,
that movie.
really?
Yeah, she did that.
The James Franco film.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I guess Zach Braff was there every day with his tiny dog, who may or may not have been annoying.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
If it was Zach Braff, it must have been enough. Take that, Zach Braff. I love Scrubs.
But that was a little bit of a tangent. But you get the
Still,
point.
That's awesome.
You get the point. You know,
And-
someone who isn't like you like. someone that you didn't really expect to do those sorts of things,
Right.
you know,
Stepping into it, doing
yeah,
it.
grew up and did those things, you know.
And you probably enjoyed those films.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know I did. I enjoyed the Amazing Spider-Man. It was
Yeah.
awesome, man.
As did I.
The Oz film.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
In high school, she was a nerd.
There you go.
Yeah, she was.
I mean, is that so bad?
Band
I don't think it is now.
Nope.
So that's what I mean.
Not
Like
bad.
this thing, this like, you know, idea of putting people in a box and like putting them in a box so that like you almost make yourself cooler. It's like that's what it seems like now, you know.
Right.
You're a jock, you know, you're supposed to live up to the jock, you know, reputation or, you know, idea of what jocks are. You know, half those guys are nerds at home, you know, quietly. They do nerdy stuff. They're into like, you know, things they wouldn't talk about with all the other jocks, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stupid. I think like, you know, maybe it's already happened. Maybe we're a little late to the show, but we should stop, you know. I mean, labeling people is not a good it's not a good thing anyway, but nerd, I don't even think that's like the worst thing you could be.
No, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, go ahead, be a nerd, man. That's freaking awesome. You know, like,
Right.
you're
Might
gonna
as
make
well.
stuff cool one day, and then we're all gonna go, thank you. You know, like,
Yeah.
you're responsible for this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we just mentioned, Infinity War. It's like one of the biggest, you know, selling things just period
Yeah.
ever.
Huge.
Yeah. Okay.
Hell, the
Nerds.
internet,
The internet.
the home computer, the laptop, Bill Gates. The other guy that I'm not really fond of, but
Steve
everyone loves
Jobs.
it. Yeah, everybody loves that guy. Those guys are nerds, you know. And we talk about, oh man, there's worth billions of dollars. Oh, look at the things they've
And
done.
technically, Steve Jobs isn't really that big of a nerd. Like, I
Or
mean,
is he?
he's not really though.
This
he
is the
stole
point.
an idea.
Yeah. Zuckerberg.
Stolen
He
idea.
could be a
Stolen
nerd.
idea.
Stolen idea.
Yep.
Scumbag.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hey.
Or stolen idea.
Right? Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, quote unquote. I mean, albeit in a nerdy sphere.
Yeah, man.
I mean, computers, social media, expanding this whole thing, you know, proficiency in a field, you know, this is all supposed to be very nerdy.
Yeah.
And
Yet everyone is contributing like so they create this,
Yeah.
right? But then it's very interesting when like once this thing is created
Yeah.
that this nerd had a vision for, everyone, nerd or not, participates. Like Facebook. You've got going to these, you know, Marvel movies like Infinity
Yeah.
War, you know, playing video games to a certain extent. You know, I guess that could also be looked at as being nerdy to do that, but a lot of people these days do that. you
well,
know?
they call them gamers now, right?
They call them gamers. They're not nerds.
Yeah.
They're gamers. And now even now with some of these gamers, they have these competitions like esports and
They
stuff.
have professional gamers.
Professional gamers.
They have,
Yeah.
they
So
have
they're
like
athletes.
8 to 10 teams that are athletes
They're
competing on computers.
They're
Yeah.
gamer jock nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
This is
Seriously, man.
This is the biggest joke in like, the social sphere ever. Like,
Yeah.
Isn't this ridiculous?
They see. Well, that's what I mean. So,
What's crazy
so the
is
barriers
my
have been
job
destroyed.
is they're sponsoring a game team.
Yeah, you were telling
Yeah.
me about that.
Like they get a house, they like that they live in and practice in, and dude, it's crazy, man.
That blows my mind.
That's their job. That's what they do. They
That's
play
wild.
video games for their job.
Yeah.
Nerds.
For anyone that
What
has
a
been
bunch
able to turn something that's so nerdy, you know, how dare, get away from me, you nerd.
Yeah.
You know, like this whole thing.
Yeah.
Good for you for turning something like that into a career. You know,
Totally.
something
Biggest
that
told
other
you so.
people, biggest told you so, biggest in your face, in your face,
In your face.
man.
In your
I can't even say that without thinking about that. Oh, that's great from I Love You, Man.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah. So, yeah, man. Like,
Rush nerds.
That's right.
I love you, man.
Exactly. But yeah, you know, that's cool. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. I think shame on anyone else that ever like drifted towards anything nerdy, you know, and then said, "What am I thinking? I'm becoming a nerd. Oh no, my reputation, everything that matters."
Cowards.
Hell out of here. Yeah, yes, cowards. Quite. I hung out with a couple guys. We went to high school with these guys.
Yeah. They will remain nameless.
Well,
I guess.
I'd like to name them because then you'll go, "Oh yeah, you know." But,
Okay. Just first names. Yeah.
Okay.
To protect their
Anonymity.
their privacy.
Well, I don't think these guys would be ashamed of where they've ended up. Is basically
okay.
my point. But
Okay.
also, like in high school, there was a time where I spent a lot of my time with these two individuals who were didn't have a whole lot. Like they didn't have a large circle of friends. You know, they weren't in all these groups and everyone knew who they were and all this kind of stuff. You know, they weren't popular,
Right.
Quote unquote popular. Gareth and Alan.
Oh yes.
Yeah, these two guys, and they were good friends. So like the three of us were like a Three Amigos thing for a while. Spent a lot of time with them, nerded out, played computer games to no end, played Halo. Just I can't even count the hours. You know, it was like, and it was a blast. It was a blast. I never thought like hanging out with these guys like, oh no, what if someone finds out I'm playing Halo all the time? Oh no, what if they find out I like Tribes? Or you know that we're playing StarCraft or Command and Conquer or any of these things, you know.
Yeah.
Who gives a crap? Like Doom, we were playing or Quake.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
If you want to see some cool stuff, hang out with a nerd, man. Honestly.
Yeah.
That's what I
They'll
think.
show you the ropes.
Man, they might judge you for how unnerdy you are, and then they'll make you feel a little inferior in that way. I've had that. But at the same time, they would love your friendship.
Yeah.
Because maybe like everyone else has pushed them out. You know,
Right.
because they're so nerdy.
Yeah. And for existing nerds,
Yeah.
I think also hanging out with other nerds is cool because like even just the three of us, we all have different experiences.
Are you calling me a nerd?
Yeah. What of it?
Yeah, what up? Are you upset about that?
Right. but like,
awesome.
yeah, but like we have like the three of us
Yeah.
nerd out on some similar, but then some different things.
Right.
And I think even just with this podcast, it's going to be fun to introduce, like, for one of us to introduce to the other two people, like, oh, this is this nerdy thing that I have discovered.
Yeah.
Check this out. Like, this is cool. Because, like, at the end of the day, there's so many things that you can nerd out on.
Yeah.
There are so many hours in the day.
Right.
You
Right.
can't nerd out on everything. So, you know?
That's, I think, the ultimate tragedy with being a nerd is that
Yeah. There's so many things.
Yeah, I mean, based on the definition, if you were a technical, proficient in a specific thing, how many specific things, yeah, I mean, you develop the next, a computer you can use, I don't know, I don't even know, like I'm not in that field.
Yeah.
But you come up with some crazy thing that everyone just accepts because all of a sudden, like, there's a place for this. And
Yeah.
Right.
I can't believe they hadn't thought of it sooner. We
Right.
always say that.
Yeah.
When something comes out, it's like, wow, someone thought this up. This is awesome.
Right.
That was probably somebody that you never spoke to in high school.
Right.
Somebody you probably never even, like, went to a birthday party for or, invited out to a movie night or anything,
Yeah.
Right.
And damn it, that's wrong.
Shame on you.
Shame on them. Shame on all of us for maybe not being more nerdy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
You preps and other people. I don't know. Now I'm just picking on people.
Quit picking on people. It's not very nice.
Because some preppy people are just like, hey, that's not nice.
Now,
Well,
yeah.
on that note, I'd actually like to take this time to let the audience know that we have a PayPal account. Not that it has anything to do with that,
But a nerd created PayPal.
but it created PayPal.
Yeah.
And they did, and they gave us the opportunity to collect donations from you, the audience. So if you could please do us a huge favor, so we can get better microphones, make this sound better, and also get more audio things recorded to you. Yeah, please give us money, and thank you.
Please and thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Now,
Okay, so yes, now
yeah, for like the back into like video games and Facebook and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we are facing like getting out of the physical world and going into a huge digital world.
Yeah.
in more ways than one.
Yeah.
That's a loaded statement, but we're going to be talking about more specific things here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So have at it.
Okay. Video games, right?
In a huge way.
In a huge way.
That's what
Yes.
I liked about Ready Player One, because it was like, if that's the future of gaming, or even kind of, I'm in.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it on.
Definitely.
When, where, how?
Right.
Sign me up.
Right.
Yeah.
When I think of physical and digital, really, when it comes to games, it's like the games themselves, like
Yeah.
Right.
the discs for PlayStation or Xbox One. Now you
Yeah.
can just buy it online. Boom, right there. Yeah, I'm not going to go to the store and grab that.
Yeah. Waste
I'm
of
not
gas, huh?
Waste of gas, waste of
of time.
talking to people.
Yeah. Who needs to talk to people?
Yeah, when I can just, boom, download this digital thing.
See, now that is so interesting, though.
It
you
is
guys.
quite.
Now,
Yes.
there are the people, and I sympathize on both sides of this. Empathize, sympathize. Either way, I do them both. There are the people that you bump into where you're like, damn, dude, if I had never left the house, I'd never have to listen to this guy right now.
Right.
Or I'd have never met her and the way she smells. And
have 5 kids with her.
Yeah. In some cases, sure. Yeah, it's like, damn it. I shouldn't have come here. There is that side of it. Or just any inconvenience in that way. Mm-hmm. So I can praise digital, games and platforms for that.
Right.
On the other hand, there are the really pleasant, really nice, cool people you might even form friendships with,
Or have 5 kids with.
or have 5 kids with, that you might have never met if you hadn't gone to the store.
Exactly.
Very true.
That's crazy.
I mean,
to think.
this is what we're faced with. So let's get into this.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting point you brought up. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I kind of made a list ahead of time, like just thinking about the different things. But that is a huge point. And like one point that I had that kind of links with that is when you get something physically, you for the most part like you'd actually go to the store and get it. You can get it on Amazon or whatever and have it shipped to your house, but like most of the time you go someplace and it supports these brick and mortar
Commerce.
yeah, exactly. It supports these companies, helps them continue business, and
Yeah.
on top of that you get it like the day of. You don't have to wait 2 days or whatever for Amazon to ship
The
it to you.
shipping, yeah, well, right, okay.
Right. Yeah, so there's that. There's that. But then, yeah, there's that other side of it where it's so easy to just order it from your couch and have it just on your system or whatever, like a movie or video game, whatever it
Right.
may be.
Yeah.
Now, I've had the excitement many times of having to go to the store to get the copy of whatever it was. I left high school, I think it was my maybe sophomore, junior year. It was my junior year. Maybe senior year. Either way, left high school.
Some year.
Some year. It was the year that Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out.
Okay.
I left high school. I said, you know what? Screw this. I know I reserved that game. I'm going to go pick it up before, I have to get out of high school to go do it. Or whatever. Went to the
Right.
store.
We don't advise this.
Yes, don't do
Children.
this. Obviously, we're nerds. But, but I
Stay in school.
went during lunch period, picked it up, played it for 10, 15 minutes, and came to school and was like the only one that had. And I'm telling everybody about it. All of a sudden, it's like, what else, man? Can you do this? Can you do that? What did you do? How is it? What guns did you use? It's, like,
Yeah.
if it hadn't been for that, that act of going and getting the physical copy, the event of it,
Yeah.
and the build up and all the everything that's swirling
yeah.
inside you, the emotion, the excitement, all the oh man, like I've been waiting for this,
Yeah.
I've been talking about it, all the things, it's here.
Yeah.
I wonder what it would have been like to wait to watch that download.
Oh yeah, and they've just been like,
And I would've- yeah.
okay.
But you would have had to wait till you got home,
Yeah.
till you're connected to the internet,
Yeah.
till everything was okay.
Yeah. Whereas
Blah,
now,
blah, blah.
now today you can get a game on your phone
Yeah.
in your account and you can press a button that says download to your PS4. Why don't I do that? And then it just does it. You could be out at the store, you could be in school, at work, wherever. Just hit that button and then it's just waiting there when you get home.
Yeah.
But you reminded me of a moment that I had picking up a physical thing, and that was a more recent one, just this past year when the Nintendo Switch came out.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
You can't download a Switch.
yeah, I know, right?
So,
So it was me and my brother-in-law, and we were standing in the line at Best Buy outside, waiting until midnight
wow.
for this place to open. And we had a good time. Met some cool people in the line. We at one point they gave you your little ticket to say oh, you've secured one. So this is cool, but you still have to wait until after midnight.
Sure.
And so everyone just dispersed out of the line. We went across the street to McDonald's and just hung out in my car. This is March, but we're from Michigan, so it's still super cold outside.
cold, yeah.
Yeah, and so we're just waiting there at midnight, and it was especially cold. We were bundled up, and I can remember we were towards the front of the line, within the first. I would say about the first 5 people or so.
Wow.
Got through the door, and we got to the front of the line inside the store, and they had, as you walk up, they've got all these little things oh, don't you want a Switch case? Don't you want this? Don't you want, this Zelda memorabilia and whatnot? Because Zelda was the game that came out with it. And we get to the front of the line, and like I said, there were a few people in front of us, but it was enough time for me to look, and I saw, and there were only a few of these, but the Zelda collector's edition version of the game. It's this huge box and it's got all of these things in it and the soundtrack and its own Switch case.
Oh wow.
For the console and everything, and I was like, man, that looks really cool. And I had already pre-ordered all this, the regular version of the game and the system, and so I was like, I think I'm gonna get
Screw it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get this. And I was like, you can keep that regular version of Zelda. I'm getting this big guy.
Yeah.
And I can still remember as we were walking out, like I said, we're in the beginning of the line. There was this huge line out of the store at midnight, and all of these people were still waiting to get their system. And I already had mine, and I was going home. And that drive home at 12:30, just cruising down the highway. No one's on the highway. Just super amped up to stay up late and play the game. Before
Almost anybody does.
Almost anybody. Anyone that didn't stand in that line to get the stuff.
Wow.
So, oh man, it was awesome. I stayed up for hours just playing it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
That's something that I probably would have had a good experience with the game, but the actual experience of going there and getting it was
Yeah.
awesome.
Totally.
I can't. There was a game I bought. I actually left the place laughing and giddy. I remember running out and I was like, I have it. It's right here. It's this. I can't remember what the hell it was now. Dude,
I can't even remember it.
It felt so silly, but there was that level of excitement. It was
Yeah, man.
it's in my hands. I can play it. Oh my gosh.
I had that with Uncharted 4.
Oh
See?
yeah.
Yeah. Got the
Yeah.
steel case.
Oh yeah. That's the way to go.
disc. Yeah.
I want to maybe. No, I don't know. I can't remember. But that's. I've downloaded some games too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
It's convenient.
it's super convenient. It's it's like, cool. When this is
Yeah.
done, I'll be able to play it instantly. You know, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only problem is maybe like something like a slow connection,
Yeah.
a weak connection,
Yeah.
Yeah.
time to download.
Mm-hmm.
I've
All
had
these
to
things.
like oh man, when what was that? What was that game? DC Universe Online?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever play that?
I have not played that particular one.
Did you play it?
Yeah, I played
It took forever to download. It took like a day and some hours. 24
What?
hours and some hours.
Oh man.
Yeah. It did not for you?
No,
The F word. You're lying.
I am not lying.
Wow.
I mean, it took a long time, but it
took
didn't take.
forever.
It didn't take a day.
Dude, it took like I had to leave my PS3 on and go to
Yeah.
work, do work things, come
I mean,
home,
so did I.
still look at it and go, "Are you kidding me?"
But I didn't come
Are
home.
you
I came
kidding?
home and I was like, all right, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it took like 5 hours, I think, for me. 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
That's what.
you know, we have been. I think we're leaning more towards physical in this conversation, but
Yes.
there are some big perks to digital stuff.
Here we go.
And check this out. So with the newer games, it's not as obvious, but most of the time, like with games, and I found with comics this week, is you can get stuff cheaper just downloading it
Yeah.
digitally.
There's a price reduction.
There is a price
Definitely.
reduction, and then like, and same like with comics and games, there are some of these things that are super expensive. Like games, like as far as games, you got like Earthbound on Super Nintendo. That's like for a complete like the complete box with all the things in it is probably pushing $1,000 close to it, whereas you can get it for $9.99 like with a download code on any like
Wow.
Nintendo 3DS or whatever. Yeah, that kind of thing. Or you've got like Spider-Man issue 1. That's probably way up there, and then you could download it for like $1 or $2 online, still read it, still have, you know, that same experience reading the actual
Right.
comic or playing the game or whatever.
So what's the value? You know, what is it that we buy stuff for? Why are we?
To impress our friends,
Well, yeah.
impress the nerds, man.
You know what? That's what I look at, or what that's. I guess that's sort of what I think when I look at my movie collection at home. I'm like, just look at them all. You know, they're all there on the shelf. I can touch them.
You can touch them.
I can pull it off the shelf. Like, hey, Dad, you ever seen this one? You should watch it. You know, like
Giant library. You want a library?
Yeah, you know, we're like,
But couldn't
like a
you do
thing like
that?
that.
Couldn't you do that with a digital thing? You could boot it up.
but it almost seems less impressive. It
Does
doesn't
it?
take up as much space. So it's
I
like,
know.
You know, it's
But
like,
that's-
let's move past all these books to see all these books. You
Yeah.
know?
But-
Well, to me, just scroll for 15 minutes and show you all.
taking up space.
Yeah.
Like that's also a reason why digital is better. Like,
You scumbag! You're creating a carbon footprint the size of.
exactly.
Yeah.
And not to mention, like, I've got a kid and another one on the way.
Yeah.
These guys, like right before we recorded this, my son was just like, "Oh, look at this Narnia book on the shelf, lion." You know, if I would have brought him over there, he probably would have like tried to look at the book, probably would have ripped pages. You know, like there's a certain
Fallibility.
yeah, like there's a big concern for the condition of these things.
Sure.
And then also, like, when you go to the store, like, say you go to the store, you buy, like, a movie or a game or something, you get home, open that thing, and then the case is cracked. And that's the only thing that you think about for the rest of the day, is how that case is cracked. And you're like, man, if I would have just downloaded that digitally, I would not have this problem right now.
No case. Yeah, you're right about that.
You know? They are easier to transport too, like
Quite.
digitally.
Quite.
You know?
And to like transfer.
Transfer as well.
That's right.
Share with your friends. You know?
I've moved a couple
Files and
times
whatnot.
and had to box up all those movies.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And as much as
I
like
bet.
the OCD part of me likes to just unpack them all and put them all in order
Yeah.
and get them all right, you know, and then stand back and go, oh,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
it is kind of like, man,
Yeah.
a great non-waste of time to not even have to deal with that.
To not
Yeah,
have to
man.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I say, you're going on a trip, and then you're like, oh, I can just bring whatever, my iPad, and I've got all of my movies and all of my comics, and whatever else. It's like I just got all of it here.
Yeah.
There we go. Great. I don't have to bring this big old thing with me.
Sure.
Oh
You know?
my gosh, that I just realized.
Yeah, you have a massive thought going on over there.
Okay, so I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, and I have the
Nerd.
Star Wars Legos like Blau.
Oh.
Dude, if I ever have to move all of those Legos, they're not glued or anything. They're built like the way they are, you know?
Yeah, no glue.
No glue.
Ain't no glue.
Oh,
You can't
dude.
download those either.
I
so-
can't
Yeah,
download them.
those are a rare exception.
They're all physical.
I
Things.
think some of our opinions, you guys may be a little more open to the digital downloading, form.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just, slightly more old school in that way. That I just like, I don't know, I like having the thing. Like I buy books off of Amazon.
Yeah.
And the whole Kindle thing to me seems a little odd.
It is a little bit weird.
Audiobooks just don't sink in as
Yeah.
much. But turning the page, making the whole journey, soaking it in, being able to underline, highlight, come back to, dig up again, dust off,
Easily.
hug at night, dream on, whatever. I could go on. But there's
That is-
something about it,
That is the preferred way. I think
There's just
that
something
that's
about it.
with everyone, for the most part, they would prefer to have something physically.
For the things that you could download. I mean, we're not talking, like
Yeah.
kitchen utensils, clothes, or things
Right.
like this.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to walk around with
Yeah.
digital clothes on.
No.
But
Maybe someday.
maybe someday.
We'll see.
Wow, that'd be wild.
I mean, holy cow! Right?
Download that stuff. Wear a funny suit.
Ready
Then
Player
you
One.
could- Yeah, just
That's what I
wear.
thought of, the first thing I thought.
I'm just thinking like a funny suit that you wear, like a green screen suit,
Yeah.
and then like, oh, for $2, I could download that shirt and have it project onto my person.
Bam! Wow.
How
So
cool would that be?
You would only wear one kind of shirt and pants, and you would buy the design.
How crazy is that?
That would be so dope.
That's blowing my mind right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
nerds,
amazing.
Jump on that.
Yeah.
Copyright nerds. Nerds.
That's right. That's none of your ideas.
Yeah.
Good thing you said copyright, because now we can do it.
I did
right.
want
Okay.
to I did want to touch on a few different.
Trademark. Nerds, and more nerds.
That's right.
Oh my god. You guys are crazy.
All rights reserved. Got it covered now.
We got it covered.
Digital clothes.
I was thinking hard about this topic, so like I do have a few other things
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say.
yeah.
and
Go
I know
for
we're
it. Yeah,
I know
yeah.
we're probably gonna run a little bit over, but that's okay. Like
This is important.
in addition to like what I said about like buying things cheaper online, there's also the collector aspect of it too. Whereas these folks, nerded out, spent their hard nerd time, nerd energy, nerd money on getting these things.
Yeah.
And like there's like if they ever wanted to sell these things, there's resale value and those sorts of things. Like that's another facet of these
Yeah. You have the original gold edition of Zelda for Nintendo.
right.
Whoa.
Right. Yeah, these things.
Yeah,
these things you
I
can
do. I
just
have
like
it.
look
It's not downloaded.
Yeah, it's right here.
In my hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now
You can touch it.
here's something kind of funny on the flip side of what we said about like these books and things and like movies, games, whatever.
Sure.
Taking up space, shelf space, valuable shelf space.
Yes. Living space.
On the other side of the coin, you get these digital things that are taking up like digital space, like hard drive space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly.
Like,
Okay.
you'll be buying like hard drives and things to like store all this stuff. The more that you acquire these things if you don't want, like, if you want it at all times.
Right.
Of course, it can go into the cloud, and
And those still take up considerably less space than every book.
right.
So
Or with a PlayStation, like you can buy all these games, and depending on which ones you are playing, like you can keep them downloaded on your PS4 on your hard drive. But
Right.
when you're not playing them, you can delete them off your hard drive, and still keep the game saved or whatever in your memory.
yeah,
But it'll be in your library. Like the game will be in your library, just not in your hard drive to play immediately. You'd have to re-download it.
Like a cloud save. of
Basically,
sorts.
yeah.
Yeah.
wow,
So that is clever thinking.
Yeah.
man.
These guys, like, we're getting to a point where, these companies have been like, oh, I see this problem, and
I've got a solution.
I've got a solution. A nerd, of course. A nerd thought of that.
Who else would?
Yes, thank you, nerds.
It was not a jock.
yeah,
Sorry, punched in the crotch.
right.
None of that matters.
And then there's also, like, with digital stuff, there, like, if you do what Miguel just said, there's no switching in and out of the discs. Like, oh, I want to play this, but then I want to play that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, like, get up and get the disc. Not that that's, like...
Possibility of compromising.
Yeah, these are first world problems, of course, but, like, there was a time, I remember, like, right when Netflix started to really hit its stride, and people would just be like, I don't want to watch my DVDs, I just want to watch Netflix. And then I can still remember, like, when they were, thinking about taking The Office off of Netflix, and I'm like, how am I going to watch it now? Oh, wait, I've got it. I'll have to just take it
Dust
off
off the DVDs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's one other thing that I wanted to touch on, specifically with the comic situation, with it being digital versus physical. A digital copy of a comic,
Yeah.
a huge advantage of it is that you can read it in the dark,
Yeah.
Ooh.
which is a huge thing.
Touche.
nuts.
Yeah. So, like, I've...
Never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been, like, our last episode with Infinity Gauntlet, I was reading that in the dark, like, in bed on occasion, just kind of flipping through pages, reading it. And,
Pages.
pages,
Yeah.
ha ha ha, ha ha ha.
Okay, all right.
Pages, quote unquote. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Not quite. Yeah, but that is one thing, and like I said,
Wow.
like I've got a family and whatnot, so it's
When you
great.
can steal a moment in the dark.
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
And I got some other books recently from the library that hopefully at some point we'll go over. So I won't spoil what it is. But I got like physical copies of these books, and I was reading them, and I was like, "Oh, all right, cool, this is great." But then I was thinking about reading them that night, and I was like, I don't think I can do it because it's physical, and I don't want to wake anybody up, with the
Let's
lights.
get digital. Yeah.
Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know what? And maybe that's a huge point. Actually, I can't even believe I never even thought of that. But I did sort of want to maybe in closing. The comment I'd made earlier about digital age, more than just media and things,
Okay.
a new big shift, and this is really taking the world by storm. This is, I mean, digital anyway is just sweeping the planet.
Oh yeah.
This, however, is like gonna change lives, like the way we live, the way we do things, everything basically.
Yeah.
Digital currency.
Yes. And we've already started to
Interesting.
move into this.
It's getting there. It's almost mainstream.
There's like Bitcoin and
Yeah.
cryptocurrency and things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's thousands of them, dude. Thousands of cryptocurrencies.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just
And it's
Bitcoin or the ones you've heard of.
Yeah, and
Ripple
it's-
or anything like that.
yeah, and it's also like it's almost like watching the stock market, like things drop and raise, like all the time.
on a digital platform. Though.
On a digital platform.
That it blows my mind. You know, there will be a
that's
day
nuts.
and a time in history where you won't even exchange $1 or make change for someone that way. You just won't do it. You know,
Yeah.
paper bills, they won't be a thing of the past completely.
But would that really be too much of a bad thing? Because those things are gross. Like, they are so
Ridden
germy.
with germs, yeah.
Yeah, they've been in
Yeah.
strippers' thongs,
Ugh.
Yeah.
God knows where.
Chlamydia.
Yeah.
I mean,
yucky,
just
a bunch of yucky
myriad of disgusting surfaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and then,
And then little Timmy can use that $1 to pay for his lollipop at the store.
that's right. And hopefully he's washed his hands.
I hope.
Probably not.
Children, wash your hands before and after handling.
Money.
Yeah. You don't know whose stripper's butt that's been on.
Yeah.
On that note,
It's a good place to leave it.
we have made it to the end of the episode, guys.
Digital.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
But before we go, we'd sure like to know what
Bro.
you thought about tonight's podcast.
Sure.
And what you'd like to hear on future podcasts. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, and feel free to leave a comment on any of those social media outlets.
We'll be waiting.
If you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and leave a comment below.
And ring my bell.
Nerds out.
Out.
Out. We out.